Okay, we are back with some more filmmakers from the short film showcase we've just had. Would you like to just introduce yourself and the role within the film of yours that we've just seen?
Yeah, so I'm Olivia. I did the Metronome. I'm the writer and the drummer.
Okay,
I'm Sai. I'm the writer-director of What Men Do for Love.
thank you very much. Can we talk about the concepts behind your films? How they first came about? Was it maybe a piece of text, or was it an image? Was it a feeling? Do you want to go first, Olivia?
Yeah. Well, with the Metronome, it kind of was like not a real thing necessarily, but because I'm a drummer, I've been drumming for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
The piece that I'm drumming to, I've been trying to learn for the last 3 years,
Right.
and it's been driving me crazy. So I was like, I was practicing one day and I thought, oh God, I'm going mental, and the metronome was in the back, and I thought, you know what? I feel like maybe people might like to see the insanity. So yeah, that's kind of where it came from.
Okay. And yourself, Simon?
I don't actually remember because I wrote it right after I wrote my first short. I wrote them kind of back to back.
Okay.
And then I was like, which one's easier to make? The other one. So I made that one first. And then I made this one because I knew I was going to do it in that one take in black and white. So I was like, I need to practice a bit before I do this one. But I don't know, I guess it's not, I hadn't been cheated on, and I'm not 50 years old. So it's not like it came out of personal experience. I guess all those ideas about toxic masculinity and that kind of area was interesting to me. I wanted to delve into that. I mean, I like a lot of David Mamet and Harold Pinter. I think that kind of stuff is kind of stuck in my head, and I write kind of like that, and I like that rhythm. And that's also kind of a little bit in my first film, but my first film was about very contemporary, about like Islamic issues and stuff like that, just based on a lot of research. So it's a very different film. So this felt more in line with the kind of stuff that I liked from like maybe Mamet and Pinter, a little bit of Beckett. All that kind of stuff was kind of in there. And now that's out of my system and I've got to do something different. Yeah.
Right, so how did you cast your films? I mean, obviously, you're not so much yourself, I guess, but let's go start with Sai there. How did you cast?
Just auditions, auditions. So I usually do my own casting for all my films, and I mean, this is only the second film, and I've done the casting for the third one that I'm making soon, but yeah, just Spotlight. And then I got like, 600 submissions, and then I had to like weave it down to about 5 to maybe 10% to actually audition. And then 5 of them per role I'll do a callback with and then make a decision off that. But yeah, it's daunting. It's daunting. But yeah, a lot of actors applied for it because I think they see the dialogue and they kind of want to do it. Some people don't want to do it because they're scared of the dialogue, but I'm like, fair enough, I understand that as well. But yeah, it was pretty strenuous.
Did you do a lot of rehearsal?
Yeah, we did about a day and a half of rehearsal and then half a day to shoot.
Okay.
Because we had to pull it off in that kind of 15-minute like take. So we did a day and a half of the rehearsal. First half of the rehearsal was really just the 2 actors, so they have a rhythm and they know their movements. And then we had a good maybe half a day of just rehearsing with the camera, with the actors as well. So we did a camera rehearsal, and then we had about maybe 5 hours to shoot, and we had about 14 takes at the end of that, but 4 were usable. So we used the very last one at the end of the day. Got lucky.
Yeah.
We got 2 before lunch, so it was like, okay, we have 2. Okay. Let's try and top it, because they weren't very strong, but they were strong enough to be like, we can call it a day. But we also knew that we have time. We can try and top it as much as we can.
But the last one was the strongest.
Last one was the strongest one. Yeah.
2-part question for you, Olivia. In terms of casting, was it always going to be you in it? Did you ever think about having someone else do that?
Well, yeah, I just, because it sort of came from myself, I thought it might make sense for me to do it, but also I don't know many other female drummers, unfortunately. Right. So I was like, oh, okay. And because it was very low budget, I didn't have to pay myself. So I was like, I'll do it. So yeah.
Sai mentioned about, it sounded like a happy accident, you getting that on the last sort of take. Was there any happy accidents for yourself that ended up, turning out well for the film?
I mean, it all sort of, it was quite in the moment for each take for that film. especially when I was beating up the drums. I had to be really careful because they were mine, and like I was like, I don't really want to whiplash the whole thing. So, but I think a lot of sort of the crashing moments and sort of the catch at the end, every take we did that, I'd knocked it off the stand. But luckily we had one where it stayed, and that was the one that they used. So it was cool.
What's your proudest moment when you see your film up on the big screen? What is there a moment or any kind of beat that you think I'm really happy with that?
I'm just happy that we actually pulled it off, to be honest with you. Because I think it could have been a disaster and I could have thrown the film away. So the fact that we actually got it done and it doesn't feel too, I don't feel like it feels. I feel like it was pretty well put together and it was well rehearsed overall, and I think it's closer to what I imagined it to be. Had more issues with my first film, and I think my first film did well because I'm touching on an issue or a political issue. In this, I'm not really doing that, so I have a bit more breathing room to play around, right? So, yeah, I don't know. What was the question? Proudest moment. The fact that I pulled it off, but the tiny moment, I like that little moment when they have that cigarette together. I like that little moment because that's our moment to breathe. It's a good touch. And I like the monologue to the camera. That when he looks directly into the camera, that was always going to happen. So I'm happy that he did it in the way that I wanted him to. I envisioned it. It was close to what I thought it would be. I think those two moments stick out to me the most. Yeah.
Oh, because it's like my first film. Yeah. I think sort of all of it is quite a proud moment, I suppose. But I think it sort of, I suppose the end, just because it was kind of like we got there, you know, sort of the last moments where you think, okay, oh wow, that happened. That's probably the proudest moment. But yeah.
What's something you learned from this film that you maybe didn't know before that going forward now in your filmmaking journey that you'll take with you?
I think all the mistakes I made in my first film, and my first film was not terrible, I'm just very judgmental of it. I just feel like I could have done a lot better looking at it now. But all the mistakes I made in my first film, I just made sure in this film that I wasn't going to kind of screw up with. And so I was super conscious about every kind of decision I was making in it. I think I wish I had more time, but that's not really something that we can get. At the end of the day, you're working on limited budget, you have 2 days, you have to make it work. It would have been nice to have an extra day. It would have been nice to maybe have a bit more rehearsal with the camera, but at that point it becomes indulgent, you know. There's only so much you can do. Sometimes it's helpful to have that limitation, but yeah. More time would be nice, but I can't, it's not in my control, you know. Yeah, I think that's it.
I think from my sort of experience, I think the main thing is like, don't hold back. I think there were moments I was like, there was so much more that I think could have been given, but again, you only have a certain amount of time, and you don't want to become too self-indulgent with it, because otherwise then it's just not real enough. So I think don't hold back, and like don't be afraid to go crazy. Yeah.
Is there a creative person who you're a big fan of, maybe a filmmaker, I guess, that you would like to show your film to, if you could show it to anyone for some like feedback? Who would you choose?
I'd be too embarrassed to do that. I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't do that. No. If someone that I looked up to saw it, and
what if they promised to be like, you know, positive and constructive?
Well, then it's just a lie. Then I don't know if they're lying. Then I'll be more anxious about it, right? I'm like, I don't know if this guy's just lying to me the whole time. You know, is he just being nice to me?
What if they're not allowed to lie? I've written that into the deal.
I don't know. There's so many influences. You know, I got really lucky when I was a kid. My grandfather had a video store, so I grew up on a lot of stuff, older stuff. They introduced me to a lot of cool stuff. Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't exist anymore. I like that thing on the outside, by the way, that little video store setup, because that reminded me of my childhood for a second. Then I was like, I kind of grew up in that environment, basically, when I was a kid, so a lot of cool stuff. I don't know, my influences are all over the place. I did steal a monologue from Cassavetes, and I put it in this film, though. But it's like a behind-the-scenes monologue of him talking about life, so it's not actually in the film. Right. It's like the DVD extras of some film called Love Streams, which that's obviously like clearly stolen and put in the film. But I say Cassavetes because he's dead, so it's easier. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There's so many people I can think of that, like actors, writers. Stephen Graham comes to mind,
Okay.
and I don't know, it's because I might have been watching 1,000 Blows earlier, and he's in my head because he's like in that, and he wrote it. But he writes such, especially like adolescence recently. That was in one take as well.
Yeah,
that
was cool.
reminded me. Yeah. I think that's the kind of filmmaker I aspire to be like. So I feel like his criticism would mean the most to me at this moment. So yeah, definitely him.
Final question, what are your next projects? What have you got in the works now? What might we see from both of you in the future?
In development on a feature documentary. It's very different from all of the stuff that I've done. It's like a very personal film about my family, and I have like all this archival footage over about like a decade or 2 decades. I'm really telling the story about my family within that. And then making another short, shooting in a couple months actually. Similar topic, toxic masculinity, about like a controversial self-help guru that gets exposed while he's in the middle of a lecture tour. It's kind of based on the show that I'm writing, because I'm on this writing scheme with like the BBC that they do, where you write like a pilot with them. And I was like, can I make a short out of one of the characters in this pilot that I'm writing? They're like, yeah, you go ahead. So I was very lucky to find the funding, but I've got to go shoot it in Liverpool, because that's kind of how it has to be made, in Liverpool with Liverpool locations and all that kind of stuff. But we have good cast attached and good crew, so I'm excited and nervous, but it's a bit bigger. But yeah, that'll be the next short, and then feature doc, and then obviously a bunch of stuff that's in like finding funding for the other stuff. But those are the things that I'm actively making right now.
So I have sort of a proof of concept that we're going to use as a short that's coming out that we shot in Birmingham last year. I was really lucky with the cast and crew on that. They were so wonderful, and it's really exciting because it's the first thing I've written with words in it, other than screaming. So it's really exciting. And then I'm also making my next short film in August, which is about lesbian heartbreak. So that'll be quite exciting to do. But yeah, that's next.
Thank you both so much for submitting your film and coming here to represent them. Can I have a round of applause, please, for our film? Thank you.